Hey guys, welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. I'm Sam Thrash, your host. Appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been a couple weeks since we've been podcasting, and that certainly was not the intention. I apologize for some of the gaps that we've had in our show here in some recent weeks. In episode 230, I talked about just some of the stuff that's going on that is impacting our podcasting schedule a little bit. So if you're curious, you can go check out that show and see what we got going on over here. I am very, very excited for this podcast, this guest, getting him on the show. Josh McKenzie joins me this week. He is the host of Caribou Media Outdoors Podcast, a relatively new show, just dropped in 2025, but is making a huge splash in the hunting and outdoor media world, the podcasting world. His show is awesome. You guys got to go check it out. And this conversation is one of those that just flows great and just feels like, as is the goal with all of our shows, just feels like you're sitting there hanging out with some guys that you've known for a long time. So really enjoyed having Josh on the show, getting to know him, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be sure that you stay tuned during the podcast for some discount codes from our partners. You don't want to miss those. And I want to make sure that I point you guys right now in the springtime of 2025 to our website, fallobsession.com, where we are hosting our annual turkey hunt contest or turkey hunt competition. You guys can enter your bird that you have already killed or that you're going to kill later in 2025 and enter it in the contest for a chance to win cash, gear. We have some sweepstakes giveaways going on alongside the contest, and you can pick up tickets for those at registration. But we're giving away a safari hunt package as well as some other gear and some other items through that as well. So a lot of awesome stuff in this year's turkey hunt contest. So if you are turkey hunting this year, you got to go check it out. Go to fallobsession.com/hunt-competition to learn more. Or you can hit up our socials and you will see it plastered all over there. All of the promos for that competition, as well as we're posting pictures of the birds that are being killed and entered in the contest. And we have some absolute studs on the ground so far this year. It's super exciting and I love seeing it. So be sure that you guys go check out the turkey hunt contest and get in on it. You have until June 9th to enter your bird. And if you are not already, be sure that you are subscribed to the show. Be sure you hit that follow or like button, whatever is up there for you on whatever podcast platform you are streaming on. Head on over to the YouTube channel. Check us out over there. We're putting a bunch of new content and new videos up there on the YouTube. Finally have a little bit more time, it seems, in the editing room here coming up. So hoping to get some more episodes of some of our shows and some of our films out there for you guys as well. So you guys want to be subscribed to the YouTube, head on over there and check it out. Social media, you guys know the platforms. It's wherever you're active on, we are active on. Be sure you are following Fall Obsession. We post multiple times a day, every day, with frequent updates from our staff and our content creators that are spread out throughout the country. You don't want to miss out on that. And if you have not checked out Carbon TV, you need to. It's like Netflix for hunting, except it's free for you guys, which is even better. You guys can stream tons of different hunting shows and podcasts and films on that platform on demand, on your phone, on your smart TV, or just on your computer up in a browser, whatever you prefer. You will find 4 different Fall Obsession produced shows on that platform. This podcast, our staff-inspired video podcast series called Couch Chats, is on Carbon TV, as well as our 2 different hunting shows titled Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. Guys, go check out Carbon TV. That's all I got for you guys. Let's get Josh in here and get this awesome conversation started. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. I'm Sam hosting you guys. My guest this week is Josh McKenzie from Caribou Media Outdoors. Welcome to Fall Obsession Podcast, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on, man. I've been been seeing you. You just started popping up on our social media feed and everything, and I was like, man, what's going on here? And had some really interesting conversations and some real snippets of some episodes that kind of drew me in. And yeah, I'm excited to get to talk to you, man, and learn more about you and what you got going on.
Yeah, that's great. I started, started Caribou Media Outdoors back in 2021. I got into hunting. So originally, lived in the suburbs. I'm in Ontario in Canada. We moved to a farm property in the country. My wife was missing. She was having memories of going up to her grandmother's farm for the summer, and we both wanted to have more property, so we started looking around. We found this 4-acre farm that we eventually moved to, and I had been into archery as a kid when I was like around 7, and on like we'd go to this family resort where there was archery and canoeing and a bunch of other things. And then in high school I shot on the archery team for a little bit, then got out of it completely. And then a friend of mine called me up and said he just bought a compound bow, and it's nothing like the recurves that we shot in high school. I should give it a shot. That was right around the time when we moved into the country. So I was never thinking about hunting at all, ever. And not because I disliked it. I was just never introduced to it. It was never part of the family. We had one family member that was doing it, but it wasn't until we moved, like I said, out to the country, and there's an organic farmer down the road. So we got some grass-fed, grass-finished beef from him. And I remember it tasted different than everything else in the grocery store. And it was kind of like, getting the wheels turning, like, what does everything else taste like, right? And then you go volunteer at your kids, for your kids' hockey team as a coach or assistant coach or trainer or whatever. And the other 2 guys are hunters, and they start talking about it, and you kind of get roped in, right?
Yeah.
So, my wife's cousin has 300 acres up north, and her husband invited me up and said, if you want to learn about hunting, you need to come to the camp. So just come up, bring a rifle, come with, and I have rifles and stuff, but only ever used them for target shooting. So when I was in that environment hunting, I wasn't connecting to the gun as I loved being out in the woods, in the tree stand and all that stuff, but I didn't really connect with the gun for what I was going to use it for. And not that I disagree with using guns for hunting. I don't at all. But it wasn't until the following year when I bought a bow and brought it up, and then everything kind of clicked. I was like, okay, now this feels right. This makes sense. I just loved archery so much more, and it just made more sense for me. So after shooting my first bear, that whole experience of being, 16 yards away in an elevated position, bear doesn't know you're there, just that whole experience, and the arrow going off and hitting him, and he took off running, that just like unlocked something that I wanted to do forever.
Yeah.
And I wish I had it on film, right? So that kind of got me thinking of maybe I should start bringing a camera. And then I go home and I go straight to YouTube. I watch more YouTube than I do TV, and start looking at reviews for like camera arms and stuff like that. And kind of got me into the whole filming thing. But then I was getting frustrated at some of the videos I was watching, because I thought, this could be not, not attacking anybody that's trying to do their best on YouTube, but, sometimes you'll get the cameras in the other corner of the room. You can't hear the person, let alone see what they're talking about. So it kind of got me thinking, well, maybe I'll start doing that too. So I kind of jumped into both at the same time. And I always wanted to start a podcast, but I didn't have any time. Like I work full time. I got a family. I'm trying to do this, trying to keep up with doing videos and stuff. And it's just like, there's no time. So this past year, I thought, it was like October, November. And I thought, you know what, as of January, I'm just going to start a podcast. I'll just back away from the YouTube videos a little bit, the review videos that I do. And usually what I'll do is I'll get a product, whether I buy it or it gets sent to me or whatever, and I have it and I'm showing it because I believe in it and I want to use it and I want to show you what it's all about and what I like about it. You know, I'm not just a talking head that stands there and says, these are great binoculars. You just watch me take them out of the package, right?
Right. Yeah. You
I
should buy them.
usually
Yeah.
you should buy these, right? It's usually, I'll do like a breakdown video talking about the actual thing, and then I'll go use it, and then I'll come back at the end of the year and be like, okay, this was great. This maybe not, right? So
Mhm.
that was kind of my process, and then the podcast started, and I just made a list of people that I was interested in talking to, and just started sending out messages, and it just kind of blew up.
Yeah.
Like the response was like overwhelming, right? And I kind of kicked it off a little. I went a little. Whenever I do anything, I usually dive deep into the bottom of the pool, right? So I go crazy with it. So I kind of had a whack of episodes done before I'd ever released anything, and it was just like, now I'm kind of sitting. It's great, you know, you got a little bit of a buffer, but at the same time, the next person that I talk to, this isn't going to come out for, if I'm doing like one a week, this isn't going to come out for like a couple of months. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like what we're talking about might not even be relevant now, you know, when it actually. So I started dropping 2 a week, which I'm not going to be able to keep up with, but and then did, you know, reels with those, and I guess that's where I popped up for you.
Yeah, that's definitely where you can kind of find your kind of reach that target audience. I feel like, especially for a new show starting out. You've already mentioned so many different things that I want to unpack, but we're ending, or where we're at right now is talking about the podcast. So I'll start there.
Okay.
But you started in January of this year, 25. So this is a relatively new show, and I know one thing that stuck out for me, and I haven't had a chance to listen to every one of your episodes, but with it being a newer show, I was excited because I was like, man, I'm going to start at the beginning. I'm going to start at episode 1. And one thing that stuck out to me from the very get-go that I was impressed with was the quality. Because normally you go to people's early episodes and like the audio isn't great, or that kind of seems like they're just stumbling around, might not have a real plan. Speaking for myself, like I feel like that's where we started, right? But like from your first episode, like the audio quality was great, y'all, and just the conversation. It did not seem like episode 1 to me. It seemed like you had been doing this for a long time. So I was pretty impressed with that for sure, because that's not something that you see a lot with day one shows. So.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. I keep my career separate from this side of things. I don't want to cross path. I have brought it up in a couple episodes briefly, but I'm a police officer, so I'm actually a detective. So I do a lot of interviewing of people.
I see.
Whether that be victims of crime, accused people, whatever, and I have to keep them talking. That's my job. So I need to be able to get information from them without introducing too much information to them. So I think that's been a huge help for this sort of thing, because I automatically was comfortable with talking to strangers. No problem. Right? Like, you know, I'll have, like, if I'm meeting somebody for the first time, which most of these are, I'll kind of go through and do a little bit of research and have some things to talk about, so we're not blank staring at each other with nothing to say.
Right.
But generally, I don't, you know, some people will say, I don't know if you've experienced this, but you'll get, you know, an email and say, hey, can you like give me a list of questions, or can you tell me some, like, where are we going with this? And I'm like, well, I don't even have them. You know, I could probably make some up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not organic. It doesn't feel like a conversation at that point. It's a question, answer, a question, answer. It's not really anything anybody is going to believe in or grasp onto, because you can kind of tell when that's happening, because people are sometimes very quick to their answers, right? Like
Right.
they've prepped themselves, and it's just not. I don't know. For me, it just doesn't feel like it's very interesting that way, and it's not because I'm trying to, you know, take people off guard at all. I just think it's, we don't know where this is going to go.
Right. No,
Right.
you
So,
want an organic, exactly. You want an organic conversation that flows very, very naturally. Whereas, and I've experienced exactly what you're talking about, where it feels more like an interview, right?
right.
With
Right.
in circumstances like that, and where I see it the most, I think, is guests that haven't really done a lot of podcasts before. I mean,
Right.
there's some random ones that it seems like they just always ask for talking points, and I'm happy to generate them. But like I feel like I've gone full circle because when we first started this thing, we stumbled through a few episodes, and then it was like, man, I feel like I gotta have more structure. So then it was laptops and notes and an order and all this stuff, and then it was like,
And
no,
whiteboards.
yeah, looked like freaking Matrix over here, and it's like, no, we gotta reel back in. We gotta get back to the basics, and then I went the longest stint of time with just absolutely nothing. I didn't write anything down. I didn't like if a guest asked for talking points, I'd give them to him, but that was it. And now I feel like I have a healthy balance. Like I have a piece of paper here with some stuff on it just to keep my own thoughts in line, and so that if we're talking about something that I want to circle back to, I don't forget about it because I have done that before. But other than like, I feel like I'm at the healthy balance now with the show that's good. But no, that makes total sense. And you being a police officer, man, we appreciate that. And I'm a firefighter myself, so I understand the first responder and balancing a show and life and all that kind of stuff. I understand how that goes. So
schedules and it's can get messy, but it's it's a nice way to distance yourself from the stuff you're dealing with at work, right?
yeah. And I've certainly I enjoy, just such as yourself, like meeting people, like just a show itself, getting to interact with other hunters and outdoorsmen across the country that otherwise you never would have gotten to. That's probably been the best part about it for me, I would say. Hey guys, sorry to cut y'all off from the conversation. We'll get back to it in just a second, but first I want to tell you guys about Hoot Camo. Hoot Camo is one of the best camouflage brands out there for the blue-collar hunter. The prices, you can't beat them. The patterns are extremely versatile. They work in so many different environments. I have worn Hoot Camo hunting whitetails, hogs, and turkeys down here in the hardwoods, the mesquites, the scrub brush of Texas. I've worn it in the flatland plains of eastern Colorado hunting mule deer. I've even worn it in the mountains of central Idaho hunting elk. It works in so many different places. It is extremely high quality gear, extremely warm, holds up well against the elements. You cannot beat it. Go to hootcamo.com, use the code FallObsession15 on your next order, no matter how big or small it is, and check out everything that Hoot Camo has on there for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's one thing, like there's some companies that I've reached out to when I do some of these videos, and then now that I can have those people on here, it's like, you spend an hour with them and your relationship with that person has now grown. Now you're not just another email or another message, talking about a product or whatever. They know, oh, that's, I can identify who you are now. And, it's a lot better that way. And,
Absolutely.
and even with, but I think, it's amazing. I guess I don't know how you feel about this, but sometimes the community can feel so big, the hunting community, but it's really not. And you see some people that you look up to or you've been following for years, and you're like, oh, he's not going to want to talk to me. And they're one of the first people to say, yeah, how's like Thursday? And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, sure. That's amazing. And it's the same thing when you go to like a TAC event. I try to tell people, it's like you're going to a place with like-minded people. You're probably going to get along with almost everybody that's there, even if you don't know them, right? And it's such a nice, it's a nice feeling to have. And I've already met so many people on here, and just by doing the podcast, that I would feel 100% coming up to, grabbing them from behind and, give them a bear hug or something, because, I've spent an hour or two talking to them, and, I feel like you get a window into their life and what they're doing, and it's kind of nice.
Man, I couldn't agree more. We've had many guests that was the case. It was like, man, the worst they can say is no, right, or just not respond. But
Right. Yeah.
I'll shoot it out there and see if anything comes back. And some like one guy responded within an hour. I was like, oh my gosh, and it ended up being an in-person episode too. It wasn't even virtual,
Oh,
so
wow.
it was just it's
Yeah.
stuff like that works out. And I had one just a couple days ago too. Another. I'm not gonna say it yet, but because we don't have it officially scheduled, but another guy that just didn't think I even deserve a response, and boom,
Yeah,
got
I know
one.
exactly
So
what you mean.
yeah, so it's a pretty cool feeling, and
Yeah.
it's cool to be building that network and everything. So I wanted to ask because, like I mentioned earlier, your show is relatively new, as in this year, making a big splash right out of the gate. I would say, what sets you apart in your mind as from other podcasts, other hunting shows that have 20, 30 episodes online and are trying to get this thing rolling?
Um, well, one thing I like to try and stick with in every episode is I want to go back in time and learn about people's history a bit. I want to know, like, if we're talking about archery, like when did you first pick up a bow? What did that look like? Where were you? Who were you with? Who taught you that? And kind of explore that, and how did that kind of transition into bow hunting for you? And that's a great kind of, some people say, oh, I don't remember, it's been so long, and then they'll think about it like, oh, you know what, it was my grandfather and it was this, and then they'll go into describing what the bow looked like, and it'll bring back all these memories, and it just kind of springboards you into all these other areas that you can go down. I don't really know what kind of sets me apart. I haven't really thought about that, but I just like we were saying before, I just like keeping it organic and real, and just talking to people. And we might agree, we might not agree on things, and that's perfectly fine. I just like learning from other people's experience. And I'm still technically very new at this myself. I've only been hunting for like 7 years, and the first 5 I spent a week for bear and a week for deer. And if I didn't get anything, I went home, right?
Yeah.
Like, see you next year. And it was a lot of, did you see anything? Nope. Right. And I think I also wanted to kind of get it, kind of the message out to a lot of new people. It can be very discouraging because you go on YouTube and you see these videos and we all love them. Like I'm the first to admit it. We watch these videos, they're 8, 9 minutes long, 12 minutes long, and you see, people arriving somewhere, shooting their bow, getting into their tree stand or whatever they're doing, or going out and bugling for elk. And within, 3 or 4 minutes, the animal's on the ground, they're processing it, it's in their bag, or they're dragging it out, and then they're going home. And it's like, you might not experience that for years,
Yeah.
depending on where you are, what your opportunity is like, how much time you can actually devote to this. Like, it's not as easy as it might look, right?
Mm-hmm.
On TV. And everybody's different, other areas are different. Like, I know I've talked to some people down in the States, they've got 5 million deer. You can shoot a doe every day if you want to, right? Or
Right.
$3 and a doe every day. Like, whereas up here, we have such a huge province, it would take 3 days to drive out of it if you wanted to. We've got about 400,000 deer spread out around there. You could go forever and not see anything. And if you want to shoot a doe, you've got to apply and win in a draw, right? Like, it's not, so everywhere's different. Everything's different. Our elk population is very small. They only let out, I think, about 100 tags.
Oh wow.
And there's about 3,000 people that apply for it.
Wow.
So if you're getting one, you're not getting another one.
Yeah.
Moose, we're going off of points now, and depending on if you're trying to pick a popular spot to get into, you're going to be waiting years before you get one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to go and drive a couple of days north to the middle of nowhere, you might get one after a couple of years, but there's no guarantee, right? So I think a lot of people that watched some of these videos, they might get discouraged when they go buy all the cool stuff, get themselves decked out in whatever camo or buy whatever equipment they want, and they get out there and they're like, I sat in a tree stand for a week. I didn't see anything but squirrels and blue jays. It's like that could be a reality for a lot,
Yeah.
or until you learn, like I've just started now after the last couple of years, I have access to more public land around a cottage property that we bought a couple of years ago. So I've been doing a lot of scouting there, and that's kind of helped me. And, I'm not stuck sitting in one spot. I'm kind of moving around and learning about sign and finding, this area you think is a great spot for deer might not be. Like, are you seeing sign in there?
Yeah.
Are there rubs? Are there scrapes? Is there, maybe the deer even haven't found that spot yet, or you put up a camera, you're only getting stuff in the middle of the night. They're not there. You got to keep looking, right? So it can get a little discouraging, and I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer to anybody who's trying to get into it. I just want people to realize that the more and more I can talk to more people and get their experiences out there, I think it can help educate the masses about, especially the new people, about what hunting can be all about. It's not always I'm just going to go out for the day and come home with something, right?
Yeah, no,
you might.
Yeah, you might get lucky,
but
it's not always that way. Absolutely. I think also, like you talked about how, week for deer, week for bear, first 5 years, and that was essentially it.
That was it.
I do think that people who are truly in tune with that and truly wanting to learn, I feel like that week of time, if that's all you have, is extremely valuable from just an educational standpoint, and you learn so much more. Like, and just speaking for myself, like I'm from Texas, which is a completely different world from, hunting up where you're at, right? And so I grew up hunting private land and, just multiple trips throughout the year, just hunting whitetail and that kind of stuff. And recently, as an adult, I've gotten into, the Western hunting and, pronghorn in Montana and mule deer in Colorado and elk in Idaho. And I've compared the amount of time that I have spent hunting those animals in their respective states compared to what I've hunted in deer. And I feel like I'm such a sponge when I'm out there in another state hunting something else, or I know I have this limited window of time, right? I don't know. I feel like it has a different effect on a hunter almost, because you are trying to learn so much so fast. And not only that, but you do a ton of research before a hunt like that, and are learning before you ever set foot in the field too. And then you're applying some of the things that you learned on YouTube or wherever you got it from. So I don't know, it's a different, like I said, when you have that narrow window, I feel like it's different, and you're a little bit more saturated in it than, at least speaking for myself, being a Southern guy and having the opportunity just to pack up and go out for a couple days if I want to and come back and, next week I'll do it again, that type deal. So,
yeah, it's like you're drinking out of a fire hose, right?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of information all at once, and you're trying to take it all in. Yeah, I went out to BC to hunt elk a couple years ago. My wife surprised me. We had a huge family reunion at our farm here, and her cousin came from BC, and we're sitting out on the deck having some drinks, and he's like, I just started getting into like archery and bow hunting. I was like, fuck, going out BC for elk would be unbelievable. And he's like, oh, I know one of the outfitters will make it happen. Like, let's go. I'll call him right now. And I was like, no, like, slow down. It's like, first of all, that's a $10,000 hunt, right? Like, that's not happening right now. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but like, you're gonna need some time to prepare for something like that, right? And so family reunion's over, everybody goes home. A few years go by, and we're Christmas shopping. My wife kind of tells me to pull over. We're pulling into a parking lot to get out, and she's like, I got to tell you something. I'm only telling you because you have to change your holidays, but for Christmas, you're flying out to BC to go elk hunting with Daniel. And I was like, don't don't do that.
Don't mess with me.
Don't mess with me. You know how important something like that is. Like, that's not funny. Like, Daniel isn't a hunter and he's not a guide, and I would need him to be both and to host me, because you can also be hosted out there.
Mm-hmm.
As long as your host has had their hunting license for a certain amount of time, and they can take you on. So I knew right away, no, it's not going to happen. She's like, no, you're not listening. He has all that stuff, and he's willing to take you, and you're going. So it was kind of like the wheels start spinning. Like, oh my God, I need boots. I need a backpack. I need a better backpack than what I have. Like, just all this stuff I wanted to buy, and so the time comes, and then I started panicking about flying. I don't know if you've flown to many places with all your equipment, but
I've refused to so far. I've driven
okay,
everywhere.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. So
I'm scared. Yeah.
We're getting closer to it. I'm like, you realize that if I land over there and my stuff doesn't arrive, like, it's game over. Like, that's it, right? So we start thinking, and she's like, okay, well, why don't we do this? So I have a boy and a girl. So my wife's like, why don't I drive out with our daughter? You can load all your stuff in your truck. And it's about a 5-day drive to get from Ontario out to BC.
Wow.
She's like, we'll get the cross Canada adventure, little girl's trip. And I had a certain amount of time off at work, right? So I had to kind of fit it all in. So she's like, we'll leave a few days ahead of you. You fly out with our son, Logan, and meet us in BC. We'll spend some family time there. You guys can go off and hunt. We'll fly home, and then you guys can drive back. Because I wanted to get that cross Canada experience, that drive. So like, okay, that makes me feel better. It's certainly not the cheaper way to do it, but whatever. I don't care. At least all my stuff's going to arrive.
Yeah.
It's gonna get there, right? So we fly out there, and like, just, you want to talk about completely different experience than what, like, mountains, and like, it's just the amount of animals they have there that are in season are just insane. Like, I was on the phone with the lady trying to buy my tag, and she's like, I was trying to be focused, right? I'm thinking, I just want an elk tag. I don't want a black bear tag. I don't want to get sidetracked. And then I'm hunting black bears for 2 days, and now I'm here for an elk.
Yeah.
That's the mission, right? Like, you got to stay focused. She's like, are you sure? Like, we've got pretty big wolves here, and we've got, black bear. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm just the elk. So they already live pretty, if you know where Vancouver is, they're about 17 hours north of there in a small town. That's where they live.
Okay. We
drove another like 8 hours north of there. Like, we were way up. We were like, I think we saw 3 people total when we were. One was a guy working for a forestry company that was looking to scout more areas for trees, and then there was a guy there with his son that were hunting. So just like spectacular. We pull up. We're heading towards this area where we're going to set up camp, and like, there's a herd of bison that just run by.
Wow.
Like, where are we? Like, this is just amazing. So,
hey guys, Trophy Edits is a Fall Obsession podcast partner. We all have mounts on our walls that represent a significant moment, a significant harvest in the woods for each and every one of us, and photographs can do the same. I'm sure you guys have pictures from years past, hunting with loved ones or being in the woods with family and friends that also represent those big moments. And what Trophy Edits does is they showcase those moments for you guys. Just absolutely make your pictures explode, and to the level that you guys can put them on the wall and also have that memory forever represented in your home, your office, your man cave, whatever it might be. Give Trophy Edits a chance to do the work for you guys. And again, they make those pictures just absolutely awesome with their professional team of editors. So go to Trophy Edits website. The link is in the podcast description. That lets them know that you guys came from us, and use the code FALLOBSESSION at checkout to save you guys some money.
we get up there. I had 10 days to get home. So we had 8 days there. I wanted to, 10 or 11 days. I thought I could do it, and I could get back in about 4. Anyway, it was pressure with the school. Our kids are going to an out of area school. So the school basically said if you don't have him back by this day, he could lose his spot at the school. So there's a
Oh,
lot
dang.
of like, this has to happen
Yeah.
between this time. So we're out there, and like you said, you learn a lot, and we definitely learned a lot. And we ran into a couple. We had one really good opportunity where we were in a cut block, and we're hunkered down by some fallen trees. It was perfect. And the elk was coming. We could hear him. He was coming through the trees. The bugle's echoing. I've got hand the camera over to my son. I'm like, just try to keep it in focus. Like, I'm really happy that you're here. He was 16 at the time. And I was like, if you don't get it, whatever, but just try, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, okay. So elk's getting closer and closer. It's about to like come into the cut block that we're in, and then this like car stereo can be heard.
Oh no.
And somebody drove into the area that we hiked into and gets out, and he's like, you're trying to hunt the elk that I'm going after. And it's just like turned it into
Oh my word.
I'm looking around like, what's happening right now? He's like, I got friends in there that are trying to push him this way. And then you start hearing bugles like in the front, and you're like, oh, those are people. That one's real. Those are people, right? And now it doesn't matter because the real one is
He's long gone.
running in the other direction. So then it was, could we have stood there and argued about it? Sure. But I was like, nope, we're getting out of here. I got to get away from this guy.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep moving, right? And you just got to, no matter what happens when you know that you have a set amount of time, like you were saying, you're trying to take in as much as you can, and you just got to realize what things you can control and what you can't, and just learn as much as you can. And I'm probably going to go back next year, but I also applied down in Pennsylvania. I didn't realize until actually just last year, one of my friends went down to Colorado for elk.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, it's the second time I've done it. I'm like, well, you just go? He's like, yeah, you just buy a tag and go. Because here I am thinking, you got to get someone to go with you, or it's like, or you have to go through an outfitter. But no, there's some states where it's, no, you
over the
can
counter. Yeah.
Just go, right? So see if it happens this year. But so we put in for Pennsylvania for elk, because that's about a 6-hour drive for us.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
we'll see. But
just
try to branch out, right?
Yeah, that's kind of mentality that I've had. Like it's not going to happen this year due to just some family circumstances, but I've been trying to do an out-of-state hunt for me, like a different thing every year. And it was kind of that deal. Like I was like, man, I have these dreams and aspirations to go hunt elk or go hunt mule deer or all this stuff. Yep. And it's like, well, at what point am I actually going to start actually doing it, right? So then it turned into, every year. And I also bow hunt. I only bow hunt, so everything is archery only. Right. So
high five.
Yeah, there we go. And I'm eyeing your bow back there. Actually, is that an Elite that you have hanging there behind you?
Yeah. So I started. So we'll go back a little bit. In 2015, when I started Googling bow hunting, I got Cameron Haynes and Solo Hunter Tim Burnett popped up. So I kind of binge watched Solo Hunter and wanted a prime forever. And there weren't any prime dealers close to me out here. So I went to the local shop. They had Hoyt, Matthews, PSE, Bowtech. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I'm a sucker. I'm a visual learner. So every single time the videos come out for whatever company, October, November rolls around, oh, I want a Hoyt. Oh, I want a Matthews, right? Oh, this week, Prime's looking really good, right? It's just like you get hit with all this marketing stuff. So at the time when I was going in, it was like the Matthews Verdicts or the Hoyt Helix Ultra. Mm-hmm. And I literally picked both up. And I'm right-handed, but I'm left-eye dominant. So no shop carries left-handed bows from my experience, like on the shelf usually. Mm-hmm. you always have to wait, right? Either wait for them to come in or you have to be the one to order it. So I've never actually been able to shoot anything. Try before you buy. No, it's hold the right-handed one and see what you think, right?
Yeah.
So I went with the Hoyt in 2019, shot that for a couple of years. The guy that at the store was like, "You are gonna never need another bow ever," right? It was just like
Need and want are two different things.
Yeah, he's like and I waited. I didn't want to buy something just to get into it and then have to upgrade later. I
Right.
wanted to. I knew from my past of loving archery that this was going to be like a thing, right? So I got like I went with a black gold sight. I bought a half decent stabilizer. I got the tight spot quiver. Like, we're putting all these good accessories on. He's like, "Wow, this is so much fun to put together," right? He was like, "This is awesome. You're never going to need another bow." And I'm like, well, we'll see how that goes. So then a couple of years later, a Prime dealer opens up, and I'm like, well, I'm driving there, and I know I'm going to have to buy one, right? Like, it's just, I've wanted one for so long. So I picked up the Nexus 4 and I held it in my hand and it didn't move, right? It was perfectly balanced.
You said this is 2015, right? Or that?
No, sorry. 2015, I was just looking.
Okay.
And I'd go into the store and tease myself and leave.
Did they still have the two track cams? That's kind of what I was going after there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
So 2015, I was teasing myself. 2019, I actually bought the Hoyt. And then 2021, I bought the Prime Nexus 4. So it had the dual track. And like I feel like a broken record every time, I had Brian Anderson on from Prime on my show, and I was like, it's like you're holding a hammer upside down. Like, all the weight's at the bottom. It just sits there, right? And then you shoot it and it just sits there. It doesn't fall forward, it doesn't rock backwards. It's amazing. So shot that and the grip with the nano gel, like the nano grip, right? With the aerogel in it. It's just, your hand's not freezing. It's amazing. So love that. And then I just kind of wanted to see what else was out there, and Elite's kind of got my eye, and so I bought an Ethos. I've loved that. That's been great.
Yeah.
But then the Form comes out. I'm like, what is that now? What are they doing?
It catches your eye for sure.
It catches your eye, and then watching them push like 1,400 pounds on the riser, and it just slips off the machine. It doesn't break. And then, people are saying, "Oh, it's probably going to come apart." And then they're hoping for 700 pounds or 800 pounds of pull strength before it comes apart. And it takes like 8,200 pounds before anything happens. Like, there's nothing that we could do to that thing to break it.
Not at all. Right? Not at all. Yeah, it came out and it was goofy looking, but I've had my own unique archery journey as well. I started with Hoyt for a long time. I shot Hoyt, and then I switched to Matthews, shot Matthews for a brief period of time, and we actually, for 7 years here, our brand Fall Obsession, we were actually partnered with Elite. So for 7 years we shot Elite up until last year, and last year decided to move a different direction. So we're not partnered with any brand right now, but actually it's funny. Actually today I just came back from the bow shop with a Prime. So I'm running a Prime for the first time in my life for 2025. So I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. So
which one did you go with?
I actually went with the Revix, or Revix. I should probably learn how to say it, I guess. But it's not their brand new one for this year, not the carbon bow. At the end of the day, I'm a blue collar guy also, so their cost does come into it too. But the that bow is awesome. I had full confidence in my Elite. I shot the Omnia prior to this, and I love that bow, but when shooting that other one, man, today I was just like, golly, this thing it's different than what I'm used to, and it's so nice. I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think the Omnia riser really caught my eye, and I was like, oh, they're looking all right. And then the 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 ethos came out, and I was like, oh, that looks really nice. I should look into that. And then of course it shows up. I set it up. 3 weeks later, we go to TAC. So a bunch of us jump in the truck and drive down to Pennsylvania, and run into Evan Williams on the practice range from Hoyt, and we start talking. And then he goes off, and we go over to the Hoyt booth, and guy's like, "Hey, do you want to shoot?" And I was like, "I'd love to, but do you have a left-handed one?" "Probably not." And he's like, "Yeah, I got 2 of them. Come."
Yeah, let's go.
I'm like, "Hey guys, just hold on a second. I bought this 3 weeks ago, just so like we're all on the same page." Right? I don't see myself walking away with one today, but like, I'd love to see what you've done since 2019, because that's the last time I've shot one, right? She's like, "Yeah, you're gonna love it. Here, have a hat. Come on over here." Like, set it all up for me, 30 inches, whatever. Draw back, shoot it. And I was like, what did you guys do to this cam? This cam is nothing like what I'm used to. I was used to, you draw back and it had a little bit of a hump every time, right? That's no stranger to Hoyts. That's what they were. That was just the way they were, right?
Yeah.
Take it or leave it, like it or not, that's what they were. This was like butter, smooth, draw back. It just stopped, right? And I was like, wow. Holy cow. And then close your eyes. You've got the carbon in one hand. Then you pick up the aluminum. I'm like, I know they have the same cam, but you can't tell the difference. Like, they're so close, right?
Oh, yeah.
So going back to what you were saying, like, you could basically pick up any bow within the last 10 or 15 years and you'll be just fine, right? Like, they all shoot very well. They're all fantastic. They all have their own little things here and there that set them apart from the others, but at the end of the day, anything you pick nowadays is just going to be fantastic.
That's what I tell a lot of folks, because it's been over 10 years now, before I was a fireman, but I used to work at an archery shop, and even then, like, the technology difference from back then to now, I tell folks today, it's like, man, you have to just go to a shop and shoot them and compare them, because you have your main brands in the industry, your Matthews, your Hoyt, etc. But I said the technology is so advanced, it just comes down to what you like. That's all it is at this point. So that's all you can do, is just go shoot them all and see which one you like the most. That's my honest opinion these days. It's just so
absolutely. And there's going to be people that are going to stay, I'm a
brand loyal.
I'm a Matthews guy, or whatever. That's fine. But really, like I was talking, if you, Brandon Hope from Backyard Bows, he's got a YouTube channel. He does a lot of bow reviews and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff. I don't know him personally, but. Hey folks, if you guys are in the North Texas area like I am, then you need to go to Bear River Archery and Pro Shop in Van Alstyne, Texas. Justin and the guys up there have an incredible operation set up. They will take great care of you and all of your archery needs. They are the official bow shop in North Texas of Fall Obsession. I love going there, and I'm picky. If you guys know me, I am very selective on who I let work on my bow. I will let Justin work on my bow. They do great stuff. Check out Bear River Archery and let them know that Fall Obsession sent you.
Yeah, he said he used to volunteer at a local archery shop, and he would tell people, pick the one that you came in for, pick one that you would never shoot and absolutely think is disgusting, and then pick 2 more, and we're going to shoot all of them. And if you still want to go with the one that you came in with, that's fine. But at least give the others a chance. And he was like, sometimes they pick the one that they thought that they hated. Right?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, I would, when I worked there, for sure, same thing. You'd have guys that come in and I want the newest Matthews or the newest Prime or whatever. But so many times, especially back then when Prime was just now starting to kind of become a thing, and they had those 2-track cams and everything, like, people would look at them and be like, what is that? Well, let me show you what that is. And they'd shoot one, and so many guys that shot them ended up walking out the door with them. Like, they had, before they walked in, they had no idea they even existed. And now they're like, what is that? Next thing you know, it's your new bow. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna be shooting the forum this year, so we'll see once that arrives how that all comes together. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, you can't go wrong with any of them, really.
No, it's they're so good these days. It's crazy.
So you started 10 years ago?
I've been I don't even know. I've been doing archery for a long a long time.
Hmm.
When I was a teenager, I grew up just my dad never bow hunted, at least not with me. He bow hunted, a long time ago for like one season before I was ever hunting. And so growing up was just always rifles. And I'd watch the old monster bucks on VHS and all these other
Yeah.
hunting shows and stuff, and I'd see all these guys bow hunting. I was always interested, but I never had a means to. And my dad had an old like one of the very first compound bows that Hoyt ever made. Was
Oh wow.
definitely not fitted or right for me in any way, shape, or form. But he handed it to me and was like, "Here, take this. If you want to bow hunt, try it." So I would spend countless hours just like all over the map on the target because the bow wasn't right for me and I didn't have consistent anchor points. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just shooting. I just shoot over and over again, and
Yeah.
then eventually, when I was in high school, I started working part time at an archery shop down here, and that's how I kind of fell in love with it. Actually, got a bow that was right for me, and then yeah, the rest is history. I have a
Nice.
as things evolved and everything, certain circumstances lead to me being bow only at that point, and I guess it was about 12 years ago now that I went bow only. So yeah,
Nice.
other than just the occasional pig or coyote or predator in that sense, I
Right.
any of my normal game hunting, I'm doing it with the bow. It was hard. My wife kept asking me on this elk hunt that I went on last year, my first elk hunt. She was like, "Are you sure that that you're not gonna take
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
rifle?"
Well, yeah, that's what happened when we got in the truck in BC to drive north. One of Daniel, my cousin's friends, came and he's like, "Okay, so let me just get this straight. I know you're like big into archery and stuff, and you only brought a bow, but if we get to like day 6, day 7, are you just gonna take my rifle and shoot one?" I was like, "I don't want to talk about it. We're just gonna. I want to stay like I I won't like I don't know. Everybody's different, but for me, yes, it would still be great, but it wouldn't be as enjoyable for me unless I shot it with an arrow, right? I want
Hmm.
that whole experience, right? It's not. I don't want to be 300 yards away, right? I want to, and you don't have to be with a rifle either. You can get as close as you want, right? But I like, I like the intimacy of the closeness of it, being right in the moment, and it's just there's nothing like it.
There's a difference between being as close as you want and having to be as close as you can.
Right.
So
That's true.
that's
That's a good point. Yeah.
I and that was I had a hunt where I shot a deer, and that's what led me to go bow only is I shot this buck that I had never seen before, and to this day he is still the biggest buck that I've ever killed in my life, and never seen him before. 30 minutes into a hunt, he was 150 yards away, shot him, killed him. I was ecstatic, but in reflection later on, it's like that was so easy. Like
Yeah.
what the heck? So and that I was doing both at the time. I was rifle and bow hunting at the time, and after that, that's the last deer that I've ever killed with a rifle. So yeah,
Well,
went bow
there you
only
go.
after that, and have not killed a bigger buck since. So that might have something to do with it, but I'm enjoying it. It's a love hate
But
relationship. You put in a lot of
oh
work for
yeah,
sure, but yeah,
yeah, yeah. There's a lot more involved. Yeah, that's for sure.
absolutely. I wanted to ask you, and this is kind of just changing gears a little bit. Where did the
Mhm.
name Caribou Media come from?
So, the woodland caribou that's in Newfoundland, you can only shoot them in Newfoundland. Um, I watched a Donnie Vincent video called Terra Nova, 3 days on the island, and he goes to Newfoundland to hunt the caribou, and they're my favorite animal. I just love to look at them. I love their antlers. I love everything about them. So when I started thinking about putting this together, I wanted to include that in the name, and then the media thing came in because I knew I'd be doing video and photos and stuff with the YouTube videos. So that's just kind of how they both came together. So
Gotcha.
one day I'll get out there at some point, but I should do it soon because it goes up and up and up in price every year.
Yeah, it doesn't
You know.
everything. Golly.
Yeah, so they need to make archery cheap again.
Make archery cheap again. That's no joke, man. Holy cow.
Somebody needs to put that on a shirt.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like we've been blessed and been partnered, like I was talking about, with Elite for so long. Like
Yeah.
even bow prices in the last 10 years, it's like, oh my gosh, this is not what I remember
Well,
for a carbon bow.
yeah, the carbons are getting out of control, right? They're just like, yeah, it's wild.
So you haven't had a chance to hunt caribou yet, but that's on the list, I guess. Then
Yeah, it's on the tippity top of the list, but it's just going to be. I have a couple of friends that I've made through this whole adventure that they're from Newfoundland.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we'll get you out there. Don't worry about it, because they're so used to like every 2 years you just got a caribou tag, right? Like it wasn't a big deal.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's like you guys don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, don't worry. It's like, we'll figure it out one way or the other. We'll have a friend over there that can guide you or something. We'll figure it out one way or the other. But yeah, it's wild. They're part of the Full Draw podcast. CJ and Gary. They're trying to.
Mm-hmm.
Their dad died a few years ago, so their mom is applying for her moose tag, and they said usually every 2 to 3 years you'll get one, because there's 500,000 people that live on the island, and there's 278,000 moose.
Wow.
So you're getting tags all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
So the idea is they've asked me to come with, if she gets her tag, they want to go over there and help her get her moose, and they want me to come and film the whole thing.
Wow. That's
And I was
awesome.
like, that story right there. The boys come home to help mom hunt a moose. Like, come on, that's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
unbelievable. So hopefully that comes together
Yeah.
for November. But
That's awesome,
We're
man.
waiting to see. Mm-hmm.
I hope you get the opportunity for sure. That a moose or a caribou. Like I'm from Texas, so all these hunts like that, I look at them as once in a lifetime. If I get to do either one of those, like that would be the icing on the cake for me in my life. So I live vicariously through a lot of people that get to go over there and do that. So.
Because it's all private over there, right, in Texas?
We
for the most
we
part?
do have a good chunk of public land. It's very saturated with people
Okay.
who are hunting it, and it can be very challenging. I am friends with some locals down here that are very good at hunting public land. They kill more deer than I do actually every year. Like but they put in the work. They put in the time to go farther than anybody else and do more work than anybody else to get it done. But
Right.
for me, yes, I'm a private land snob, I guess you would say, down here. So,
No.
but
Well,
very
it's-
fortunate
it's-
to be so. So,
It's the same thing with people that argue about, shooting over a feeder or over bait or whatever. We bait up here. Doesn't mean you're going to have more success than the next guy. You know why? Because they're baiting too. Like there's such an enormous amount of selection. It doesn't automatically mean that you're going to get an animal coming into your bait. They could go to the neighbors tonight, or they could go, 4 properties over. You don't know, right? So I don't know.
no, it's its own journey for sure. We have a decent chunk down here that we hunt and we manage and everything. So I've had to learn a lot even in just the private land game, because growing up it was just you sat in your stand, you had a feeder in front of you, you had your rifle and either stuff. No trail cameras, no cell cameras. Just if something showed up, great. If it didn't, oh well, try again tomorrow. And now in the age of technology we have, there's all e-scouting and maps and cell cameras and trying to figure out pinch points and bedding areas and still running feeders. But then okay, well, where am I going to hunt during the rut? Because we have bucks that are not coming to food anymore. They're going to doe bedding. So how are we going to hunt them? And it's a constant cat and mouse game. So keeps us on our toes.
And then there's the years where you swear they're going underground in tunnels.
Oh,
and
no
just
joke.
Avoiding you altogether.
No joke. I still haven't found that tunnel system, but it's
Where's
there.
the tunnel access?
It's there somewhere.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
man.
No, it's fun, and I definitely for me at least, the contrast to being able to go out west too and experience all that, like we talked about earlier, it's been very educational for me and just made me a better rounded hunter. I feel like getting to
Hmm.
experience all that and from an archery standpoint too. So it's been good.
Oh yeah, even like I've told this story before. Well, the same thing when we were out in BC and you're up on the mountain. Well, temperature's going to change, right? So
Hmm.
you might be hot during the day hiking around, but it's going to drop overnight. So you better be climbing into that sleeping bag with all your clothes on because you're going to need it, as
Yeah.
I learned the first night because I didn't. And I,
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. Hope you guys are enjoying it. There's so many different places that you guys can tune in to Fall Obsession Podcast, and one of them is the Outdoor Call radio app. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV, he created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. Our show, Fall Obsession Podcast, plays on that loop on Mondays. That's the same day as our new publications on the other apps. And there's also tons of other hunting shows and podcasts on there that you guys can listen to. Go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It is free. You can start streaming immediately. And be sure that you follow their Facebook page because Outdoors Dan does some live radio shows throughout the week. And even if you are not local to those radio stations, his broadcasts are shared on his Facebook Live. It's Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call Radio app. Go download it today.
woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm shivering and I look over and here's my 16-year-old all geared out in his stuff, warm as he could be. And I'm like, how did he figure this out? And I didn't put it together before I went to sleep. You know, put all your in the. I was wearing Sitka at the time and I had like John Barklow, his voice in my head. Put all your stuff back on and rewarm yourself, because it was just like incredible that the temperature changes overnight, right?
Yeah.
But you could hear that once and not think about it, but you're going to remember when you're in the middle of it
Oh,
and
yeah.
it happens and you're never going to do that again, right?
Absolutely. No, we were on our elk hunt this last year. We went 25 miles back on horseback
Oh, wow.
before we ever made camp or started hunting, and so we had a 2-day ride to get in there, and you know I had never done anything like this before. So the first night, and I don't know if I've talked about this on our show before or not, as far as my sleeping situation, but we the first night, just our temporary little camp, like we didn't even pitch the tent or anything. We just slept out under the stars, and it was cold. It wasn't as cold as it got once we got up higher for sure, but it was cold, and I didn't sleep a wink. I was warm enough, but it was just I just felt like I was overstimulated, and then I'm on this tiny little mat and everything, and I
Yeah.
just I didn't sleep. And then the second night when we actually got to camp, we were all kind of dumb. I'll tell folks we should have just taken the time to put together the stove for inside the tent, but we were lazy. We're like, we'll do it tomorrow. We're so tired. It's so late. Let's go to sleep so we can hunt, or hopefully get ready to hunt tomorrow. And yeah, we all that was the coldest I've ever been at night when I slept in my life. Like that was just
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And then third night we actually have the stove going. It's like, oh, we're idiots. Why didn't we do
Why
this
we
sooner?
did-
This is comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. And you
So,
feel so safe in your tent, but yet it's so thin, anything could come in if you really wanted
exactly.
to.
Yeah, it's a sense of security, but in reality it's you're just there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, man, I know we're getting close to our time, and I've enjoyed our conversation so far. We will have to do it again at some point. But
Oh, for sure,
I do
yeah.
have a couple of questions that I like to ask every first time guest on our show, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And we might have already. I know we've already covered part of one of them, maybe more. But the first one is just, what is your favorite hunting memory to date?
Favorite hunting memory is probably, well, if it's not the elk hunt with my son, because that was pretty awesome. The first animal I ever shot was a black bear with my bow. And it, like you were saying before with that deer that you shot, it almost felt like it shouldn't have happened. Like it was too quick. I got up to the camp later than I wanted to. We set up the tree stand, went back. I got changed, went back, climbed up the ladder, and within an hour of being in the stand, the bear came out. I was like, this isn't how this is supposed to go. But I like it, right? It's fine. So I remember just the whole experience of watching him like just slowly come in, and he'd cross this river. There was a river in front of me, and originally I thought it was a beaver that had been making noise all week. It's slapping his tail in the water and stuff. So when I heard the splashing, I thought it was the beaver, but then I heard some more, and then I heard a couple sticks break, and I'm like, oh, something's coming, right? So get the bow off the hanger, and I'm standing there, and I'm waiting, and just that, it's almost like time stood still, right? And he just came out very cautiously. We had a bait barrel out. He was coming towards that, stood up on his hind legs, put his nose in the air, and I thought, uh-oh, this is going to be the time where he knows that I'm here. He drops back down, turns around, and starts going back the way he came. And I literally had a window to shoot through before he was going to be back into the thick stuff and gone forever. And I took a shot, and it was my first time shooting from an elevated position. And I shot him too high. And it was high in his back, and he took off running, ran past a tree, snapped the arrow off. And I remember just hearing him running and running and running. And I'm like, he should be going down. Right?
Yeah.
He's just running and running and running. And then I climbed down. I look at the arrow. There's hair and blood on it, but it hadn't gone all the way through. So thinking about it later, I'd hit his offside shoulder because he was kind of quartering away from me. And we never found him.
Oh,
so
wow.
The first animal I ever shot with anything, never found. So I know you said my favorite memory. That's definitely not my favorite, but it's definitely one that sticks with me. I have the arrow hanging in my garage. It's like a reminder, like, do better next time, right?
It's a pivotal moment for you as a hunter. Yeah.
It was I went running, so I got down and looked to see where he ran, and he basically, the bears in this area had made these tunnels through this nasty, thick alders and stuff. And I thought, I'm not climbing down into that until I tell somebody what happened.
Yeah.
So I go back to the camp, and the owner's sitting there, and he's in his rocking chair, and I kind of startled him, and he's like, I knew you were going to get one of these days. I'm like, well, hold on a second. It's not, he's gone. Like, we're going to have to look for him. But we searched. There was a group of us that went searching for him, never found him. But that definitely stuck. You carry that with you, right? It was the pivotal moment that kind of made me want to do this forever. But it was also a teaching moment that, you really need to prepare yourself for the situation that you're in. If you're going to shoot from heights, you need to practice and practice wearing the gear that you're going to wear. Because, when you put that face mask on, or you've got that thick jacket on, that's going to change things for you, right? Or maybe you're wearing gloves now because it's cold and you don't normally shoot with gloves. Well, practice like that, right? So, so that was definitely, between that and the elk hunt was two very defining moments for me, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, not always a happy in the moment time for you, but it definitely we've all had those for sure, where you learn more in the moment and have that to reflect on, and it resonates with you for a longer period of time, for sure. I tell folks you've never truly hunted if you haven't either missed or made a poor shot. Like everybody has, and it's an unfortunate part of it, but it's part of it. So
yeah, for sure.
Last question I got for you is, and I think we've already hit on some of that as far as your desire to hunt caribou and everything, but I ask folks, what is at the top of your bucket list, hunts that you want to do at some point in your life?
Yeah, that would be it.
That would be it. I figured it would be.
Right at the tippity top. Yeah, woodland caribou in Newfoundland for sure.
Yeah.
And elk for like everybody wants a 6x6 elk on their wall. That would be something awesome too. A great story to tell every time you look at it. But the caribou is one that really sits really high up for me, for sure.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, Josh, tell our Fall Obsession podcast listeners where they can find you and your show and tune in.
Yeah, so it's Caribou Media Outdoors on Instagram. I'm also on YouTube pretty heavily as well. Same thing, Caribou Media Outdoors. There is a Facebook, but I don't normally. It's only because it's connected to the Instagram. I don't do a lot of. I'm mainly active on Instagram and YouTube.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on our show. We will have to do it again. I enjoyed this and appreciate you, like I said, taking the time and enjoyed getting to know you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'll have to have you on mine too.
Absolutely.
We'll get to talk. We'll flip the table a little bit and talk about you.
Yeah, we'll talk about some Texas hunting on your show up there. Whole different world.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, for our listeners,
Sounds
thank
good.
you all for tuning in. Be sure that you go check out Josh's show. Go follow him, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Show him some support. Appreciate that. Thanks for listening. Be back with you guys again next week, and I will catch you then.